Illinois to the Big Ten championship game. Should we get used to hearing that going into 2025? Sunny Verma of Locked On Illini is here to discuss that very idea. So under the radar, Sunny, Illinois had their best football season in 23 years, hitting the 10-win mark. A win over Red Hot South Carolina, who a lot of people had penciled in as a potential playoff team with their 6-game winning streak. It was a great year. A bunch of people are coming back. Is that where the expectation is for this Illinois team? Is it get into that upper tier, or is it just, hey, can you be as good as you were last year until we get to basketball season?
No, I mean, I think in the expectation is to establish yourself in the upper tier, right? I mean, you're returning 16 starters from last year's team. 18 of those starters started in the bowl game. So you've got a senior quarterback, especially nowadays in college football, that usually can be very important. And so I think right now, Bret has done a wonderful job here in Champaign with Illinois, but it's not like he's getting the recruiting cycles to really compete with the Oregons or the Ohio States. He coaches the players that we have up now. Having said that, we're in the middle of having one of our best recruiting seasons in about 20 off seasons now at this point. So, that might change in the future. But I think right now, when Bret took over at Illinois, our hope was that he can essentially turn us from arguably the worst program in the Big Ten Conference to giving us the consistency of a Wisconsin or an Iowa. Right now, that's what Bret's building ourselves towards. And again, if we hit 9 wins, 10 wins, and then we can continue to raise the bar when it comes to our recruiting during the offseason, I think then eventually we can get there. But I don't know if 2025 is the year.
Yeah, and I don't know with Illinois' schedule in 2025, which we'll get to later in the segment, that's incredibly feasible. But in the Big Ten championship odds right now, Illinois, that again just won 10 football games, is behind Washington, Iowa, USC, and Nebraska. Now, the top 5 teams are about what you would expect: Ohio State, Oregon, Penn State, Michigan, and Indiana in there, who all had great years. I mean, Michigan was, more great at the end of the season. Wasn't too much of a problem there for Illinois when they matched up. But what's missing for Illinois to be, even a Wisconsin level of consistency? And I'm talking pre-Luke Fickell's arrival in Wisconsin, where it's, hey, this is an 8 to 10 win program. How does Bret Bielema make that sort of step to where, maybe once out of every 6-7 years, oh my gosh, Illinois is in the Big Ten championship game?
Well, no, I think we're there now. I think that kind of consistency, we're going to be there. My thinking is we're not going to be at the Big Ten championship level because the rules have changed. We're no longer competing in the Big Ten West, where all we have to do is be the best team out of a bunch of not very good teams. Now it's simply you have to be one of the 2 best teams in the conference, and Illinois is not going to be breaking into that top 4 at least any time soon. So, do they need more playmakers? Absolutely. Illinois won 10 games last year, but they got boat raced by Oregon, and you really saw the difference of talent on the field there. They were only within a touchdown of Penn State with 2 minutes left, and those are the 2 of the 3 losses that Illinois did have last year. So I like where the program's headed, and I think we're in the top 5 or 6, and I think we'll be competing for a college football playoff push next year. But again, there's a different level between trying to make it into the college football playoff and winning a Big Ten championship.
Illinois is one of those programs that when you talk about those who benefit from the 12-team playoff, Penn State is number 1. First and foremost, no one benefited more. James Franklin gets to the Final Four, could never get in the Final Four. That's a perfect example. But Illinois, quietly, after last year, they were kind of, 1 game away? If you find a way to win at Penn State, Illinois is probably in the college football playoff last year, Sonny. But next year, it's going to be significantly tougher. Our friends at FanDuel do not yet have a win total out for the Illini, but I imagine it's probably around 6.5. Maybe 7.5 with the schedule. You've got a non-conference game at Duke. You have to go at Indiana. You have to go at Washington, who's going to be improved, and at Wisconsin, while also playing Ohio State. And, the rest of the schedule, I think, for Illinois is pretty manageable. But as far as road slates go, considering you're at Duke, Sonny, I think that's the biggest challenge and hurdle in my mind to putting Illinois in kind of the camp I had Missouri in going into this past season, which was, hey, I don't know if they're, as good as the national title contenders, but I think they're good enough to go 10-2, and 10-2 in the Big Ten or SEC gets you in to the college football playoff nowadays. I think that's the case again, but I don't like that schedule draw at all for the Illini.
You and I are going to have to respectfully disagree. I actually, yeah, I mean, I'm telling the only guaranteed loss that I see there is when Ohio State comes to Champaign. Indiana, sure, they had a great year last year, but they're replacing a lot of their skill players on offense, and we get them early in the year when they're going to be incorporating a new quarterback. Again, we have the consistency from last year. 16 of those starters are coming back. Washington, I agree that it's an away game, and if to me, that's a kind of a coin flip just because of where they're at. They're obviously a rebuilding program. Illinois, again, it's very much a senior-laden and a junior-laden team next year. Last year, we were one of the youngest teams in college football. This year, we're going to be one of the oldest. And so, I think we're going to respectfully disagree. If I was FanDuel, I would place our over-under probably right around 7.5, if not even 8.5, because I just think the talent, when you talk about USC, I don't know what's going on with USC, but I trust a Bret Bielema senior team over what Lincoln Riley is doing with USC right now. Wisconsin's kind of in a flux. We know Luke Fickell's seat, whether if it's not scorching hot, it's at least very, very warm. And right now, maybe it's me drinking the Kool-Aid, and maybe it's, again, folks who are in the Locked On Illini Discord, we all seem to tend to agree that anything below 8 wins would probably be a disappointment for next year.
I do like the back 4 games, the final third of the season, 3 of 4 at home. You have a bye tossed in there, and it's Rutgers, Maryland, at Wisconsin, and Northwestern. I think that should be 3 wins, maybe 4. I just, as I said, I don't love the road slate here for the Illini. You mentioned 16 returning starters, which is one of the reasons that expectations are so high for Illinois compared to the past. But 2 of the guys that are gone, Pat Bryant and Zachary Franklin, that's a tough couple of guys to lose for Luke Altmyer. How do the Illini replace those standout receivers?
I mean, you're absolutely right. But the year before, we had to replace Isaiah Williams and Casey Washington, both who went to the NFL. So the same question was asked then. Right now, it just so happens that the wide receiver room, when it comes to young talent, outside maybe running back, is probably the most talented room that Illinois has had since Bret Bielema took over. So there's, a couple of guys who are, Malik Elzy, Colin Dixon, who we're hoping are going to be able to step into that role as a number one. And, and we just got the kid from West Virginia as well. His name escapes my mind at the moment, but, I understand the hesitation of it, but I think that offensive line it's basically all 5 seniors. We're going to have a loaded running back room. Luke Altmyer throwing the balls. I think I have a little more confidence in that wide receiver that they're going to develop as this last year's class did.
Sunny's feeling good. If that's good enough for you, when the Illini's win total comes out on FanDuel, hammer the over. Everybody, just hammer it if you trust him more than me, which you do, whatever you like. It's free country and whatnot. Sunny Verma, Locked On Illini. Appreciate it, my man. Appreciate everyone listening. I will see you next time. And until then, hope you have a wonderful rest of your day.